What episode is this, Wexelman?
Oh, we're in the 40s.
You don't know the answer. This part's going to be in the podcast. What episode? 47? Tom Glavine, 47? Is that what it is?
Can you stall while I look it up?
Hi there, folks. My name is Darren Sutton. I'm the host of the Amateur Hour podcast alongside my co-host and producer, Danny Wexelman. I'm not the co-producer. She is the producer. I'm just the co-host. Each and every week we bring you this podcast, and we do so in order to get to know the very best of college baseball. Amateur Hour, it's a kitschy name. It works well for the gear. It's another part of this show that I had nothing to do with. It was the brainchild of Danny Wexelman. As we bring you show number...
Wait, hold on. 42. It is 42. Jackie Robinson.
Episode 42, the Jackie Robinson episode. It's a good one, and it's a really good one. Danny produced another great show, and we go different directions here. Again, we find ourselves always getting to know this year, draft year, and we knew it would happen. We knew it would come to fruition. Every episode we roll out feels like over the last 6 months, you were a COVID kid, you were a COVID kid, you were a high school draft, you were a COVID kid. You didn't get drafted because of it. So what we've learned is this whole wave, this draft, now maybe some of the high school picks are different, but this whole draft are all COVID kids that all took advantage of college baseball, and their lives are about to change. Nigel Belgrave is a redshirt sophomore, and he's an interesting player because his numbers aren't spectacular, but his arm is, and his mind really is. And the way not only we always talk about analytics, Danny, in baseball, he analyzes himself and his soul and his mind and his approach and his ability to cope. He's a very modern athlete, a very modern baseball player. He's going to be picked, I mean, if you're going to look at boards, somewhere around the 5th round plus, but that's still life-changing, and that's still an opportunity that he's worked his way there. He's at Maryland, Nigel Belgrave, hard-throwing reliever. Maybe he goes higher than that.
Okay, a couple things I like about this guy. Number one is anytime I think you get a kid from the Northeast or the North, when they're fighting to play baseball in the colder weather months, I just have a little more respect for these guys, for what they have to go through. And this is also a guy who's dealt with so many injuries. In high school, he talks about those injuries. Yeah. In college, he's dealt with his injuries. And so where he's at now is maybe a little behind because of those injuries, but you said it, the velo is not behind, and he's figured out a way to make some changes, make some adjustments. This dude is so positive. He played in the Cape League. They won last season in 2022. The Bourne Braves had this incredible experience and has poured his heart into this game. And on top of everything, is going to do something that no one in his family has ever done in college. And we'll leave it at that. But I just think he's a really cool kid. And he shared his story and shared some tough moments that he's had. And I'm just a fan, but I think what he's doing is growing his stock. Even if the numbers aren't going to jump off the page, I think that he's going to impress a big league club.
Spoiler alert, he's going to graduate college. Sorry, ruined your tease. Yankee Candle. Mom works for Yankee Candle. Mom Arlene. Like, he will debut and show. You could just sense he was in the light. Go ahead and watch on Perfect Game TV or on YouTube. Watch the interview, too, because if you're just listening, he was in the glow of a candle. What a wonderful Yankee Candle commercial it was. And Nigel is awesome. And by the way, if you want to know how I know they won in the Cape, I don't know my Cape League champions every year like I should. You probably knew Bourne won last year. That was probably into your cranium. I actually went to Mom's Instagram to see more about Yankee Candle. And there was a picture of son with trophy right there. That's how I knew. Went to Mom's Instagram page. Auburn, Mass. Nigel Belgrave going to be a draft pick, as will Nolan Schanuel. So Nolan in mock drafts goes 23rd overall in the most recent Perfect Game mock draft to the Guardians. 23rd overall. That means Nolan has played his way into the first round. His numbers, as we have this conversation, they'll change because they play all the time in a podcast. You might be listening to this in December of 2025 for all we know. But the bottom line is Nolan Schanuel is laughable. An on-base percentage of .610 as we have this conversation. 52 walks, 14 strikeouts, 17 home runs. Here's another COVID kid, but what makes him a little freaky, whereas you had to have Belgrave redshirt, which made sense. Redshirting makes sense if you lost your senior year. Nolan lost his senior year and then was a freshman All-American. Like, this is a crazy hitter. It's a great conversation. Another good get by you. And a lot of you, I guarantee you, don't know who he is. He's going to be a first rounder.
Yeah, they don't know because, once again, it just goes to show you, you can play at any school. We will find you. If you are a good ball player, we will find you. The numbers are so gaudy. This dude gets on base. The walks that he takes, he never strikes out. His approach is a master class in the box. He grew up 20 minutes from FAU. This was his dream. This is what he wanted to do. And also, on top of the offense, which we gush about, he was like a top 10 outfielder coming into school. Now he plays first base. So masterclass in the box, masterclass in being malleable and going to where your team needs and where your coach. Did you like that word? Good word, right? I know, $10 word.
Oh my God.
Good word. I know. I just get smarter by the week. You don't even know it. But I'm a huge fan of this kid, and he was so like. The interview was great. I didn't know what to expect. I've never talked to him, never covered him. He was so personable, shared a lot about his approach, and maybe gave us more, right? Because you don't want to steal everyone's secrets, but he kind of gave us his secrets, and I really appreciated that.
I won't spoil those. They were good. So that's the show. It's a good one. Episode number 42, Amateur Hour. Big words as well throughout.
I am so excited because every week I look at stats for NCAA baseball, and I just like to look at the weird, the wild, the different, what's happening across the country. And every single week you are atop the offensive leaderboard, every single week. And I type your name out and I look into it and I'm like, we got to have this guy on. Like, it's time. We are past due for you. And so I want to dive into the numbers, but I think like the most intriguing thing about you is that you're a hometown kid. So you grow up close to FAU, you go to games growing up. This is your home, this is your family, this is where you wanted to be. But let's go back to Nolan growing up with a bat in his hand for the first time, close to this school. You don't know you're going there yet. I mean, what were you like as a kid? When did you start playing ball?
From what I remember, my mom always tells me when I was 10 months old, they had a wiffle ball in my hand, and we were just hitting wiffle balls in the living room. Growing up, I mean, any chance I got, I was going out playing sports, either if it was baseball, basketball, football. But our whole neighborhood, the life revolved around sports. And I got put into T-ball at an early age, and I just loved it. And I knew I wanted to play for as long as possible, and it just stuck.
What's it like growing up in Boynton Beach? Like, paint a picture for someone who's never been there, doesn't know what the baseball culture's like there. Tell us what's like.
Well, it's baseball in the beach 24/7. I mean, if you're at the beach, you could even be playing baseball. We would bring wiffle ball to the baseball field. We'd be playing catch on the beach. We'd be doing anything, anywhere on the beach. We're playing wiffle ball. We're playing football, but the baseball life, we're playing all year round, summer, winter, fall. There's no breaks, and I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more than that, you know? I mean, baseball has been my life since I picked up a T-ball bat, and Boynton Beach has made it even more than that.
One more quick one, D, on that, just on that topic. At what point did you realize that you loved the game, that this was the game for you and this was the life for you?
Yeah, I would say middle school, I completely stopped playing other sports, and I totally put my focus on baseball and just sat down with my mom and dad and just said, hey, this is what I want to do, and I want to do it for a long time. I want to make it my profession. I want to do whatever I can to be a professional baseball player.
Awesome.
And at that point, if there's an investment from family, which there is, travel ball and equipment that goes into it, Aaron and Ryan are your parents. What was the give back asked of you? If you shared with them, I think I can do this, I think I'm all in. What did they ask of you if they were going to make sacrifices to get you to all these places?
They said just make sure they're comfortable when they're older. They said make sure they have life figured out after that.
Good answer. I like that. That's a really good answer. So take me on a kind of a 12-month run, if you will. 12-month bender, it felt like for our globe, but for you it wasn't. So March 2020, we know what happens. But by the time February 2021 came, you were a full-time college baseball player. You had no high school season after March 2020. The logical person would think, the baseball person would think, well, it's acceptable if that 1 year later, without a deep dive into baseball, I'm sure in Florida you have more opportunities, but without a deep dive into baseball, you really shouldn't be a freshman All-American. That's not the expectation. Just start fitting in. Just start getting comfortable with your swing. We'll look ahead to the next year, but that didn't happen to you. What would you tell me happened between March 2020 and opening day, February 2021, which was followed by a freshman All-American season?
Yeah, just obviously COVID hit, and it sucked. It knocked down our senior year, didn't get to finish it, but that didn't stop my teammates or I from getting into work. And right when I got onto campus, our hitting coach, Greg Mamula, knew exactly what he wanted to do with my swing and perfected it, and just little tweaks, nothing much, just kind of mindset things, and it just stuck. And ever since that, I've been a different ball player since high school, and just a whole different approach in the box, which has helped me completely.
Be a little bit more descriptive on those little tweaks, if you don't mind. If they're not major things, as you said, but be a little bit more descriptive. Yeah,
just my high hand set, I'm more upright. I have a little leg kick now, and just it's all timing mechanism, and it's made so much better of a difference from high school, and I truly unlocked my power in the bat.
What's your eyesight?
So this is funny because I always thought I had 2010, and I go into the eye doctor and I had an astigmatism this over winter break in my right eye. So I was playing all summer, all last year with astigmatism in my right eye. So I actually got a contact for this year, which I pride and say that's why I'm doing so well this year, is the new eyesight.
One contact, just one.
Yes, one contact in my right eye.
How was that adjusting to putting it in? Was that tough for you?
Yeah, it was definitely, I had days where I'm like, I don't even think I see better in this. Like, what am I doing? I batted 360 last year with one eye, and I'm like, I could do it again. Like, what am I doing? And just a little adjustment helps so much.
You talk about the approach. I asked you that because I think one of my favorite stats to look at is walk to strikeout ratio. Mm-hmm. And your senior season, it stood out. And every single season you've been at FAU, it is so gaudy and so impressive what you've done. Can you just bring us in the box with you and try to explain to us regular humans how you have, just this season alone, 52 walks and only 14 strikeouts?
Yeah, this is a key aspect. Is growing up, my dad we'd get in the car after a game. If I struck out, that's the worst thing you could do. And just hearing that like stuck with me. I'm like, I'm never striking out. Like it's the worst thing ever. Like you're not even giving yourself a chance to get a hit. But in the box, I'm just early on. I'm trying to hunt something up in the zone. If I see it, and I don't have to get to 2 strikes, then it's perfect. But if later in the count we get to 2 strikes, I'm in fight mode. I really widen out my stance. I cut out the leg kick, and I'm just fighting. I'm still trying to do damage as much as I can, but it's more about slapping a single or hitting the gap instead of just hitting a 450-foot home run.
You must be pitched around. Like the walks, obviously, they're being careful with you, but your OPS is 1,500. Your slug is 900. So what does it take to find that, maybe the one pitch that you're offered in an at-bat?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I always described it as food. I mean, you're going up there, you don't want to eat the broccoli. You want that big juicy burger that first pitch. You want that best. You want what's best on the menu. So when I go up there, even if it's just something like beef jerky. I love beef jerky, but I'll settle for it. And I mean, I'm not gonna let that one on the outside corner go away early in the count if I think that's the best pitch I'm gonna get throughout that at bat. So if I have to take it and I have to hit that one, then I'll do it. And so
Like the best answer I've ever heard.
Do you have a favorite burger spot? I mean, let's get to the more important things. Do you have a favorite burger spot down there in Florida?
I love Habit Burger. It's right
Habit
next to my
Burger.
apartment. It's really, I mean, we go there all the time with the guys.
And do you have a favorite kind of jerky that you settle for? Do you have a favorite kind?
Yeah, the teriyaki, the little teriyaki bites. Those are my favorite.
You gotta get you a brand deal.
Yeah.
Those are perfect. Those are perfect. And will you eat broccoli, or do you literally hate broccoli?
Oh, I'll eat it, but only with 2 strikes. So.
Got it. I'm actually asking literally, will you eat broccoli?
No, I would. Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I tie these conversations in. Just we're lucky in our world, talking to all levels of athlete. Danny does it, I do it. Yesterday, I chatted with Zach Gallen, if you're aware of him, the pitcher for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Who's really good. And what intrigues me about him, and I think of you, there came a point in his journey as a pitcher, and he was from New Jersey, where he had to trust his pitchability. In other words, he had to trust that I'm not going to throw 96. I have to trust who I am as a pitcher. I have to trust my secondary pitches. And that kind of leads to that on-base percentage for you. At what point did you trust the fact that my hands are good enough, my eyes are good enough, especially the new ones, but my hands are good enough and my eyes are good enough that I'm going to trust the fact that I may be hitting some with 2 strikes. I'm not always going to be getting that burger at 3-1.
Yeah.
What point did you, and it's like a bridge to me you cross over, and you good ones that really trust yourselves, you come back sometimes, but you kind of stay over that bridge. You just stay on the other side of trust. And you look across the way and you see a lot of your teammates and opposing players that never truly trust themselves. Mm-hmm. At what point did you trust your hands, your eyes, to hit with 2 strikes? Because this approach, albeit those numbers are gaudy, that means you're doing at times what you need to do with 2 strikes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I got to college, it was the biggest adjustment because in high school, you're down 0-2, you're still getting a pitch right down the middle most of the time. And in college, they're way better at locating. And that's when I really focused in on, I got to just go in fight mode. Even though I'm not going to get my cookie, I still got to be able to do some damage with that outside part of the plate, that curveball that's going to hit, back foot, that changeup that's going to go low and away, just kind of deal with what I have and what they throw to me. So
yeah, does having it work? Sorry, Nolan. Does having it work kind of fuel that confidence meter? It's almost like when you plug in the modern car and you see it all the way full. Does having it work a couple of times your freshman year actually like, okay, I can do this? Like I literally just got a knock to left field over the shortstop's head on a 2-2 or 1-2 count. Okay, I should trust more. Does it fuel that when you have success?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I try to get it to the guys as well. Just, I mean, if the whole team can do the 2-strike approach and just kind of fight off and just even put a ball in play, it's just your chances of getting on base are 100% higher than if you just strike out. So I would say just kind of you got to go in fight mode. You put your butt out and you slap a single. That's way better than just letting strike 3 go right by. So I would say that's my biggest part of my approach with 2 strikes.
Do you get to the beach a lot these days?
Not during season, not as much as I'd like, but we go on off days a couple times and kind of just, it's more of a relaxing thing. We don't go surf or anything like we did in the fall, but we still go sometimes.
Yeah. What's it like being able to start to live part of your dream? I mean, obviously you identified that really young. You knew you wanted to go to FAU. You have absolutely demolished college baseball, at least from what I can see. I haven't had a chance to cover any of your games, but what does that feel like for you?
I feel accomplished. I mean, obviously not yet. The season's not over, but just I've been chasing my dream since I was young, and just knowing that it's so close, it's satisfactory. I mean, I worked for this my whole life, and just knowing how close it is just, it's amazing. And I'm just blessed and ready for the opportunity.
Remember those days playing for the Florida Stealth?
Yes.
5'6", 110 pounder at a PG event, a 13U event.
Yes.
The Florida Stealth. What was young Nolan like when he put on that Florida Stealth uniform way back when?
I mean, everything in his mind was baseball related, and it's awesome because I grew up with a bunch of those guys, and a couple of the guys are on my team now, and we talk about it to this day. But I was definitely a different baseball player back then, and I mean, I pride myself for the low strikeout rate because of that kid back on the Stealth days.
Stealth days. You're not so stealth anymore, pal. No. You can't hide. That's not an appropriate team name for you. Hey, is your mom an educator?
Yes, she's a teacher.
What grade? How long? Give me the deets, please, about Aaron.
Yeah, she's been a teacher for 10 years now. She teaches second grade at Murakami. It's a lottery school. It's actually pretty close to campus in Boca Raton.
How amazing! What a cool gig that is. And we had a couple of teachers we chatted with over the last few days in advance of the Mother's Day weekend, moms of players. And I almost feel like we should now thank teachers, more, even if they're not the teachers of our kids. So do you go in and read to the class? Have you done a presentation? She's got to be proud of her little boy. Have you done that?
No, yes, I've gone in a couple times, not as much this year, but years prior I go in, and my sister and I will go in and just kind of read to the kids, and they're amazed of how tall we are. Right when you step into the room, they ask you to touch the ceiling. It's like they're amazed on how tall that, I mean, they will be soon, but you get in the room and they're just like, wow. That's a college guy. That's somebody older, and it's amazing. But reading to them and just kind of playing kickball, just going out, play recess. Yes. They love it.
I love kickball. Yeah. I love kickball. That's the best game.
Are you
I'm
good
a father
at
of 4 daughters.
I'm all right. I mean, I try to keep it calm, just keep it easy on the kids when we're there. Yeah. But I'll show off a little bit when I can.
What were you saying, Dee? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, don't go too easy on them. Mm-hmm. We want them to be tough like you do when they get older. Although we don't want your mom to get let go from her position.
Yeah.
So whatever that happy balance is. You mentioned your sister. We haven't asked about her. Well, who is she by name? And just give us a quick biography of your sis.
Yeah, her name's Brianna. She used to play softball. She's up at UCF now. And just growing up with her actually made me the most competitive person I could be. I mean, we're playing ping pong. We're building blocks. I have to build the biggest tower. Like, just her and I would back and forth. Had to be the best at this. Had to be the first to finish dinner. Had to be the first to get home. It was, I mean, we were the biggest competitive, nature in Florida, I would say. Everything we'd argue about being competitive. We'd argue about little stuff, but it made me a better person, and I love her dearly for it.
That's so great. I think the last one I have is for someone who hasn't met you as a person, Nolan. Like, who's Nolan the person? I think we've painted a pretty good picture here, but in your own words.
I'd say outgoing. I don't like to say this because I'm talking about myself, but I pride myself on being funny. I got a great personality. But I'm very outgoing. I love just constantly moving. Whatever I'm doing, I got to be moving, and I love to have a good conversation. Sit down and just talk, and get to know people, and kind of just get a good feel for them.
That's amazing. This has been awesome. Dee, are you good?
Yeah, Nolan. Thank you, man.
Well, thank you for having me.
I think when we have conversations like this, and Nigel, we're pretty thrilled you're hanging out with us, by the way. It's always fun to learn what you've learned, if you follow me there, because I think a lot of our younger listeners now will listen to what you've learned and open their eyes and minds just a little bit. 2 things for me jump out as you're now a pro prospect and a draft conversation guy. It's 20, which messed up everything for everyone in the spring if you're a baseball player. And then it's 21. It's a redshirt year. You're speaking to a fellow redshirt in college who went on to pitch professionally. But 20 meets 21. In those 2 years, what are some of the big things that you learned, A, about yourself, and B, about your pitching?
What I learned the most was like just getting my mind right, mentally getting there, and because like physically I was always like kind of like well I was always like skinnier on the skinnier side, but physically like my mechanics and stuff they're always pretty good, but I would struggle like I'm sure a lot of people know like I would struggle throwing strikes, but and like I was always looking like what mechanics like what am I doing wrong like why am I doing this, but then I would like the mental side. I talked to a couple of other guys who had dealt with it in their own careers, and I learned a lot from them and just believing in myself and pitching with conviction and trusting my stuff. And I think that's the biggest like change from high school to college is that. So yeah.
Trust is such an amazing thing for you athletes. I talked to a pitcher who pitches for the Diamondbacks, Zach Gallen, who,
Yeah.
kind of has crossed over that bridge more so than even many of his fellow teammates in the big leagues. There are big league foes that don't trust themselves as much as he did. So when you talk, Nigel, to some of those people you called the mentors or friends that gave you good advice, it's not one size fits all. We know that as far as advice, but what were some of the things for you that helped you focus, clear your mind, trust yourself? Some specifics.
So it all started like right before the season, actually, right before this previous season, and I was struggling in the preseason, throwing a lot of balls, and I was like, "What am I doing wrong?" And I was like, "I think it's mental because I pitched in the Cape and Bourne the past summer, and I did pretty good there, and I was like, what difference did I like? What changed?" And I was like, and then finally after one outing, it was couldn't throw the strike, and I was talking to my catcher. I was like, dude, like, I was just like, it was mental, like. I was like, I was checked out in a way. And I was like, and then so we had a kid last year. He's like helping out this year. And his older brother played a couple years in the minors. I call him A-Rob. His name's Alex Robinson. But he said how he would dealt with that in the minors, like couldn't throw strikes, like just going through it mentally. And me and him sat down and had lunch one day. And we talked about like, just changing stuff through your lifestyle, not even baseball, just staying positive through stuff and believing in like yourself and having confidence in yourself every day. And since then, it's just changed a whole lot. So that for sure helped.
Would you say there's something that you do to help strengthen that muscle, right? You're yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
So like every morning I have like this affirmation that he wrote for me, and I'll read that every morning. And it's just like when I go out to the mound, I have different thoughts. Like I'm running out of the bullpen. I'm thinking like no one's better than me. Like I'm just gonna throw this with conviction. Who cares where it goes? And I'm just gonna trust my
I
stuff.
love that. Yeah, I
So
mean, I think those things are really important. And what about when you get a chance to get off the field? Maybe it's off season. How do you treat yourself? How do you take care of yourself when it comes to that part of your game?
I'm like, so we talked about it. Like say for a scenario like something bad happened. Like I'm sitting in traffic or something. I'd be like think to myself like, yeah, this sucks, but there's a lot of people out there who are way less fortunate than that and aren't in a car right now, walking everywhere. And I'm lucky enough to be in a car. It's lucky enough to be stuck in traffic. So I try to look at life like that, more positive. And if something bad happens, I always just like try to find the positive side of it.
And one more just on that topic, we hear how guys flush a bad outing, a bad at bat in game. Do you have a way that you go about flushing something that you didn't feel or didn't sit right with you in a game?
Yeah, so I kind of have like this like vision in my head. It's like a water bottle. Like every time I do good, it fills up a little bit, and then like whenever I do bad, I kind of just ignore it. Don't let it like empty the water out of my water bottle. And like once I
Okay.
get to the top, it's like the confidence all the way there. So basically like it can't really empty, but it just keeps filling up, you know.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pitching's a fun thing, man. Tell me about the Cape last year. You guys were champs. You won it all at Bourne. You were
Awesome.
a part of that. What were some of the takeaways for you? It's you play for a great program, by the way, at Maryland, but there's something cool about playing with dudes from everywhere. You know, JUCO, NAIA, top D1, all of it together. Talk to me about a little deeper about your Bourne experience last year.
I think I made a lot of close relationships. I still talk to a lot of the guys now. I still talk to Coach Landers to this day. I had a great relationship with him, and it was cool. We had Jared Saltamacchia as our hitting coach, so I got close with him, and that was cool. And a lot of people ask me like the Vanderbilts and the of the world, they're like, are they like cocky or whatever? I'm like, nah, like they're actually really cool because I still talk to them to this day, and I'm like, they're just really great group of guys we had.
What do you recall about your travel ball journey? You got out there and played a little bit. You played for, Strike Zone. You played for NEB. NEB's a fun program. I know we saw you at a couple PG events. What for you stands out about playing travel baseball?
So I kind of like with the Strike Zone. It was like more of a local team.
Yeah.
It was the people I grew up with, so I played with them, stuck it out, and I went to futures games, got to colleges or whatever, and committed. And then the summer before I got here, so summer after my senior year of high school, Sully hit me up from NEB and was like, "You want to play at these tournaments?" And normally, like, it's pretty expensive to play for that team and for some of those tournaments. So I only played in a couple, but that was a fun experience. That's where I became like close to Matt Shaw too. So I got a couple of buddies still to this day from that team. So that was a cool experience.
Yeah, it's interesting because to me, like, you're not alone. Those that have gone and played travel ball after they graduated high school, your senior season was different. It was tanked. But dude, Mookie Betts played travel ball after he graduated high school. Zach Gallen, that dude played travel ball after he graduated high school. That had to be nice just when it made sense for you. That had to be nice to get some innings in that way.
And it was kind of like, so junior year of high school, I was hurt. And then senior year, COVID. So after those 2 years, I'm like, all right, I want to just play a game of any kind. So I played on a couple teams. I played on Evolution that summer too. They're a team in Mass, Strike Zone, and then NEB. So that was fun.
Can you take us back to Auburn for a second? Because I have a little extra respect for the East Coast guys who play in the cold, who have to navigate the weather and still try to get seen and play on teams and travel teams. You got to go somewhere else, right? You can't just stay in your state all the time. So take us home and bring us around town. Bring us to your home, to your family.
Yeah, no doubt. So like, obviously you said it was cold, and I remember when we were first day of tryouts, we'd always have to like shovel the field. We'd usually just do the infield, but we'd shovel the fields to get the snow off so we could have tryouts, and we'd practice in the gym a lot. And there's a lot of indoor facilities where you can go and rent out a cage or whatever. And a lot of the time I would just like record video, post it on YouTube, send it to coaches, and send a lot of emails to coaches, and try to reach out to people instead of like them coming to me.
And if you could give yourself some advice, your younger self who maybe didn't know that you'd be where you are right now, what would you say to yourself?
Just have fun, honestly, because a lot of the times I'd like get pissed about the games and hold that on for a couple of days, but you only get to play for so long, so I would tell them to just enjoy it and enjoy the ride.
Please tell me everything you can about your slider. My goodness, please.
My slider?
Tell me all about it, the grip, the history. Tell me everything. I'm in love with that pitch.
Honestly, it just like came one day. So, you guys probably know Eric Cressy's
down in Florida.
Sports Performance. Yep. They also had one in Mass, and I would go there
Oh, awesome.
in high school. And I believe it was Christian Wonders because I've had a couple pitching coaches there because they keep going up to the minors and stuff. But I believe it was Christian Wonders. I went there one day and he's like, "Try this slider grip," and I tried it one day and it just worked and stuck with that. And sometimes like you can see it'll be more flat than others, my slider, and my wrist will be like that instead of like that. So I just gotta stay focused on that and keep the depth there for it.
And is it a little bit on the side of the baseball? Are you strictly behind the ball
Yeah.
and using the pressure?
No, it's on the side.
Dude, my
I
baseball's
don't
over
think I have
there
a base.
too, right
You can
handed
get
to you.
it.
My
You can go
baseball's
get
right
it.
over there.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can have a
Are
baseball.
we allowed to
You're
go
both
get our
allowed.
baseballs,
Yes.
Danny? Hold
Yes,
on.
boys. Go get your baseballs.
Hold on.
We'll
Hold
keep
on.
this in.
I got it.
I could find one faster than both of you.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You got one
We'll
right
all
there.
do it.
So yeah, I got it's like I kind of just put my fingers on the horseshoe like that,
Okay.
and then my thumb is on the like lace right there.
Okay.
So then it's kind of I don't really like flick my wrist. It kind of just fall. I kind of just let it fall out and keep a stiff wrist, and then that's been working for me.
Throw it
So
as hard as you can.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Wow. That's. I mean, it was funny. You have that famous in the amateur baseball world anyway outing that was scouted by a PG scout, our good friend Vinny Servino,
Yeah.
which you threw 9 of those bad boys and 6 of them were swung on
Yeah.
and missed, and
Yeah.
that's special. Have you always been a little bit harder of a thrower than those that were your age, or did you bounce in velocity at a certain age?
Yeah, so I was more like a position player when I was younger.
What position?
Until either third base or outfield. In high school, I played third.
Yeah, pitching's way
Uh-huh.
more fun. Anyway,
Yeah. So yeah, and then
I threw you
yeah.
off. I interrupted you. The velocity.
Yeah.
Did it all? Was the
Oh, yeah,
velo
the
always there?
velocity. So yeah. And like my freshman year, I was like 78, if that. And then I started going to Cressy's actually and working out there, and then I got a velo jump from my sophomore year, and then the sophomore winter, I was throwing like 85, and then throughout that year would like 85 to 86, touching 88, and then I went to the Futures games, and that was in like August, I believe, and I would touch 90 there, and then since then I've always been like kind of a harder thrower than you others, yeah.
Of all the work that you've put in, you've navigated injuries throughout high school and college. Of all the work that you've put in from your time playing and realizing that you could do this professionally and make money, what part are you most proud of everything that you've done so far?
Just like showing up day to day, honestly, because there's a lot of people who just like give up because
Yeah.
it's so much work and managing school work with that too, and like no one else in my family has graduated from college. I'll be the first to
Wow.
graduate, so it's like working towards what I really want and stuff like that, and then I know it makes my parents proud, so that makes me
Well, you've
happy.
had a smile on your face, I think, the entire time we've had the pleasure of talking to you. So I can tell that there's probably
Yeah.
some influence from your parents and what they've given you. So can you introduce us to them and maybe
Yeah.
tell us why it is so important for you to be the first to graduate in your family?
Yeah, no doubt. So my mom, she she went to Central Connecticut for a little bit, and then she worked in like retail for a little bit, and now she's a manager at Yankee Candle. But my dad, he went to community college for a little bit when he was like he enlisted in the Air Force and
Wow.
did his 4 years there, and then he worked as a banker for a little bit, and then he was like sick and tired of like people telling him what to do, so then he started up his own franchise in
Wow.
restoration, and it like kind of showed me like the hard work he had to put in. Like he was working like some days were 24 hours and like overnights and stuff. So it showed me like how hard he had to work for something that he really wanted, and kind of wearing off on me, I
Yeah.
guess. So
Well, please tell
trying
him
to make
thank
them
you for his
happy.
service. I mean, I think that that's
Hmm.
probably the most remarkable thing. We hear a lot of really cool stories when we get to do this podcast, Nigel, and to hear that that's something that you'll
Hmm.
accomplish to be the first in your family is definitely tops. I'll say that. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I must say, you literally look like you're in the glow of a Yankee candle doing this
Yeah.
interview. Like,
I actually got one right here.
you have to.
I got a
Yes,
Yankee
see,
candle
I
right here.
knew it. I mean,
My mom sends me them.
is there anything better to put inside a young man's living space than a Yankee candle?
Bro,
I'm an
we got
old
them all over
man.
the
I'm an
place.
old man, and we're not the best at keeping things pristine and clean.
Wait,
So,
what's your favorite
Um,
candle? What's the best
Yep.
smell?
This one, my favorite's the Midsummer's
So
Night.
good.
Midsummer's Night.
That's my. She always sends me those ones.
Great
Order one
job,
of
D.
those. I like
Yeah.
that.
You gotta get some kind of sponsorship.
Those are kind of more like one of the mannish flavors. So
Yeah,
she gets
my
me
candle's
those
over
ones.
there. I can't go step out a shot. Again, so. You're
Yeah.
awesome, man. You're awesome. It's been a
Thank
thrill
you.
to
I
watch you from
appreciate it.
afar. Excited to see what happens now with your team, and I hope you guys play to Omaha,
Thank you.
and then also
for sure.
in July when they get together in Seattle. I hope
Yeah.
good things happen for you.
For sure. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
There's always things converging at this time of year on this podcast, especially because we talk with athletes and we ask them to talk about their pro aspirations. And for the first time, this level of athlete, not this level too, but this generation of athlete is far more transparent in sharing about their dreams and their draft days. But then they button it up a little bit heading into conference tournaments in the postseason because they think, wait, I'd love to win something before I get out. You know, maybe if you're at FAU, you might not win a College World Series or at Maryland, but you never know. You may end up playing your way there. But they want to win something, and so it's fun. It's fun to celebrate postseason in college baseball, but also the individual because it's a one-on-one sport, and we had two great, talented players that are good at that one-on-one sport in this podcast.
I think that a topic that's been trending a lot lately is the development at the college level. We've talked about it a little bit. I like to talk about it a lot because I do think that it's starting to take shape and really be obvious of what can change about a kid when they get to campus and how they can grow within 2 or 3 years and become a prospect that will get drafted but then can be ready for the big leagues in a quicker amount of time. And I think for Nolan Schanuel, this kid is one of those guys who's been doing what he's been doing approach-wise since he was in high school. His game has just made these minor improvements and minor adjustments, but the game has been the exact same for this guy, and he's been so consistent. If you look and chart the last 3 seasons in college, everything you want to trend, his walks are up, his strikeouts are down, but like in a massive way. He gets on base. He can play good defense at first, a position he learned. Like this kid, I think, is more major league ready, and I think that that's what begins to happen even more now than ever. And Zach Neto is another example that has been brought up a lot and should be because he was at Campbell last year. He was playing at Campbell in a regular weekend series at this time last year. Now he's a starting shortstop for the Angels. And so for Nolan, I think that for Nigel Belgrave, I think that too. I think that the injuries, I think he's overcome so much already and he just needs a little bit more, but he's playing at a great program. We had Matt Shaw, his teammate, on, and those guys are friends. They played for the Bourne Braves together. And I just think what you're seeing at the college level, whether it's Pac-12, Big Ten, the Sun Belt, SEC, ACC, the development is next level. And these kids are willing to talk about it all. Like, there's no secrets, and that is different than from years past.
Yeah, for sure. It's very, very different. And they manage to do it with respect for their coach and for their teammates and for their university. They're deeper. A guy like Nigel is incredibly deep in analyzing. You know, he gave a lot of credit. I went and looked up that name. Left-handed pitcher Alex Robinson, A-Rob as he called him, was the man, I wanted to say his full name, the man who had such an impact on him, who passed along wisdom. Alex, credit to you, because a lot of times people that are mentors or big brothers in a college program don't do it to have their name mentioned. So credit to you, Alex. You've got a great legacy in Nigel and what he's about to accomplish. I picture Nigel Belgrave in the back end of a bullpen in the big leagues pretty soon. I mean, you think you go through your evolution. He's trying to harness what God has given him. He's been trying to harness it. Once that's completely harnessed, there's nothing stopping him. So he admits, like, command is going to be something I might battle for a long, long time. Well, Justin Upton hit 300 career home runs, and his career has essentially come to an end, and was kind of raw his entire time, trying to reel things in, and had an amazing major league career. So I look forward to Nigel getting there soon. Subscribe, share it with a friend. Amateur Hour. We're proud of this podcast. We love it. Proud of Cole Turney, sharing a little bit of him from the NAIA level, and best of luck to all of our teams that listen. We know a lot of the programs now listen to this podcast at the college level into the postseason. And we'll be back again. We're dropping as many episodes as we can. A couple of words. What was the big word you used earlier in this show?
Malleable.
Malleable. Define quickly.
Willing to bend or adapt to what you need to.
God, that's good. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So that means that if you say, like, he's as flexible as a steel pole, he's not malleable. Is that correct?
He's malleable. Yeah.
Okay.
But
okay. Hey, the other words that were trending in this show was the word trending. That trended quite a bit, and the word master class along with malleable. So those three words: malleable, trending, and master class. Trending was trending in this show. Episode 42. We'll see you on episode 43. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.